The gym had a silence that wasn't empty. It was full of effort, of patience, of people measuring themselves without speaking. Metal rested against metal. Breathing followed rhythm, not ego. This was not a place where noise mattered. It was a place where control did. Muhammad Ali walked in quietly, almost blending into the background. No dramatic entrance, no glance asking to be noticed. He paused near the wall, setting his bag down, taking a moment before doing anything else. Not hesitation, awareness. He began wrapping his hand slowly, carefully, making sure each layer sat where it should. There was no rush in him. People who trust time never hurry. Across the gym, weight was being moved with confidence. A man stood near the racks, broad and heavy, lifting 200 kilograms with practiced certainty. His frame filled the space around him. Muscle spoke before words ever could. A few friends stood close, leaning casually, smiling in that familiar way people smile when strength feels unquestioned. They didn't cheer. They didn't need to. The man set the weight down and straightened. His eyes moved across the room, then stopped. Ali didn't look like part of the equation he understood. Not here, not in this setting. He looked once more, then spoke calmly. "You're too small to fight." The sentence wasn't sharp. It wasn't meant to sting. It was delivered like a fact. The gym didn't react loudly. It reacted inwardly. A few movements slowed. A few breaths paused longer than usual. Ali heard him. Everyone did. Ali didn't respond. No smile crossed his face. No correction followed. He finished wrapping his hands, stood up, and walked to an open space on the floor. He lowered himself down with care. Push-ups, slow, controlled. Each repetition deliberate, identical, unbroken. His arms moved smoothly, without strain, without show. He didn't count, he didn't look up. His breathing stayed even, quiet, almost detached from effort. Not because it was easy, but because he refused to let effort announce itself. People noticed, not because it was impressive, because it was undisturbed. Ali stood, took a breath, then lay back down. Sit-ups followed, steady and patient. No tension in his face, no urgency in his pace. Time seemed to stretch around him. The man near the racks watched now. His friends did too. No comments were made. Ali rose and approached the heavy bag. He didn't hit it immediately. He adjusted it first, guiding its swing, aligning his stance. Then he began, short punches, clean, precise. The bag responded honestly, moving back and forth in measured arcs. There was no aggression in the strikes, only intention. Ali shifted his feet, changing angles with subtlety. The floor accepted him easily, as if it recognized balance. He wasn't demonstrating speed. He wasn't displaying power. He was explaining something without words. The gym felt narrower now, not in space but in focus. Distractions faded. Even the weights seemed quieter. Ali stepped away from the bag and reached for a jump rope. He held it for a moment before starting, letting it hang loose. When it began to turn, the sound was soft, almost polite. Each landing was light, each movement exact, and as the rope continued its steady rhythm, it became clear. Nothing important had reached its conclusion yet. The rope kept turning. Not faster, not slower, just steady. Ali's feet barely touched the ground. Each landing absorbed, not announced. The sound was soft enough to disappear beneath breathing. People watched without realizing they were watching. Their bodies stayed where they were, but their attention had shifted completely. The man by the racks leaned back slightly, resting his hands on his hips. His chest rose and fell heavier than before. Not from effort, but from something else. Ali stopped the rope and set it down gently. No flourish. No pause to see who noticed. He walked toward another corner of the gym where lighter bags hung. Different tools, different language. He began again, this time slower. His fists moved through the air with restraint. They stopped short, pulled back before impact, as if the air itself were enough. Each motion was intentional, each pause mattered. This wasn't a demonstration of dominance. It was a demonstration of restraint. He stepped aside, adjusted his stance, and worked the bag again. Not harder, smarter. Timing replaced force. Distance replaced aggression. The bag moved because it had to, not because it was attacked. The man's friends stood quietly now. Their expressions had changed, though none of them spoke. They weren't impressed. They were attentive. Ali slowed and stepped back. He stretched his shoulders, rolled his neck once, then lowered himself again, this time into a plank. He held it. Not to endure pain, to prove stillness. His body stayed aligned, no shaking, no strain visible. Seconds passed, then more. The gym seemed to hold its breath again, not out of tension but respect. Ali stood up calmly, dusted his hands together once, and looked around. Not searching, not challenging, simply acknowledging the space. The man near the racks shifted his weight from one foot to the other. For the first time since Ali had entered, he didn't look certain. Strength had always spoken loudly in this room. Today, it was listening. Ali moved back toward the heavy bag once more, but stopped short. He didn't need to continue. The lesson wasn't finished yet. But it was becoming clear that it would not arrive through contact. Ali stepped away from the bags and walked slowly across the floor. Not toward the man. Not away from him either. Just across the space they shared. He picked up a pair of light dumbbells, the kind most people ignored. Too small to matter, too light to prove anything. He raised them and began moving, not lifting, flowing. His arms traced controlled paths, smooth and uninterrupted. Shoulders relaxed, wrists loose, every motion connected to the next, as if the weight didn't interrupt his balance at all. The room stayed quiet. Ali shifted into footwork again, moving laterally now, forward and back. Short steps, precise placements. He stopped suddenly, then moved again, changing direction without warning. Not fast. Accurate. The man near the racks followed each step with his eyes. He wasn't comparing anymore, he was studying. Ali set the dumbbells down and knelt briefly, stretching his calves, his ankles. The small things. The parts no one talks about. He stood again and faced the mirror, not to admire himself but to align. Posture corrected, breath settled. He shadowboxed once more, this time even slower. Punches stopped inches short of an invisible opponent. Each one returned cleanly, without wasted motion. No anger, no urgency, only clarity. The gym felt different now, not because something dramatic had happened, but because something undeniable had been shown. The man exhaled slowly and crossed his arms, not defensively, thoughtfully. Ali finally turned his head toward him. No challenge in his eyes, no pride, just calm. The space between them didn't feel confrontational, it felt understood. Ali wiped his hands on a towel, folded it once, and placed it back in his bag. Unhurried, complete. Nothing had been proven out loud. Nothing had been taken. But the lesson was no longer subtle. And still, Ali had not said a word. Ali zipped his bag slowly, the sound barely cutting through the air. It was the kind of small noise that only stood out because everything else had gone quiet. Around the room, movement returned carefully. Weights were lifted again. Machines resumed their low hum. But the rhythm was different now. The man near the racks didn't return to his bar immediately. He stayed where he was, hands resting on his hips, eyes lowered for a moment. Not in defeat, not in shame, but in thought. Ali walked past him, not close enough to challenge, not far enough to dismiss. As he passed, the man spoke again. His voice was lower this time, slower. I didn't mean it the way it sounded. Ali stopped. He turned, not sharply, not dramatically, just enough. He looked at the man, really looked at him, and nodded once. "I know," Ali said quietly. Nothing more followed. No explanation, no lecture. Ali stepped toward the exit, paused, then spoke again, not to the man alone, but to the space itself. "Size answers one question," he said calmly, "but movement answers many." The words didn't linger in the air. They didn't need to. Ali walked out the way he had walked in, without taking anything from the room. Behind him, the man returned to the bar. He lifted again, still strong, still capable, but different. His grip was tighter, his breath more measured, his movements less rushed. He didn't look around for approval. He didn't speak to his friends. Because something had shifted, not in his strength, but in his understanding. No fight had taken place. No winner had been declared. Yet everyone in that gym knew who had taught the lesson. And long after Ali was gone, long after the weights were racked and the lights dimmed, the silence he left behind remained. Calm, controlled, and unmistakably earned.